Hello, 245. This is Vanessa again, and we're going to be talking about the cranial nerves. The best model to look at the cranial nerves is actually this sad-looking guy. You can see he's a little broken, but if we're careful with him and preserve him, he'll be okay. But this is the best one to see the cranial nerves on. I'm going to just kind of go down the list, and I'm going to show you with the stuff we've written on the board. I'm going to show you this drawing that I made, because you guys can go through and figure out your own ways to remember them. We've provided some mnemonics already on your list, so you can always shift those out as well. This isn't the only way you can see the cranial nerves. You can also see it on the nice brain model I was showing you guys before. So again, you can see them underneath on here very nicely. You can also see them on our little brainstem models. You can see those as well. Also again, very nicely. Okay, so let's just go down this list and we'll talk a little bit about the mnemonics as well. So as far as the mnemonics, there are 12 cranial nerves and you got to know them all. There's a million different mnemonics you can look for on the internet that I'm sure maybe will be more to your liking, but this is just one that I really like. I think Anna likes it too. But so we got 1 through 12 here, and we have on old Olympus's towering top, a fabulous Viking grew vines and hops. I like it because it rhymes and it has a rhythm, so it's going to be easier for me to remember than as opposed to like random words stuck together. Like I think the old one I remember was like oh to touch and feel virgin goodies something a something. I don't even remember. So this one's like rhythmic and it rhymes, so that helps me remember. So the actual names here, if you look on your list, we have the olfactory nerve, the optic nerve, some of these might sound a little familiar already, oculomotor nerve, the trochlear nerve, the trigeminal nerve, the abducens nerve, facial nerve, vestibulocochlear nerve, which we're going to talk about when we talk about the ear later, the glossopharyngeal nerve, the vagus nerve, the accessory nerve, and the hypoglossal nerve. So you don't need to know the functions of these nerves, at least not in the scope of the lab, but you will need to know whether or not they're sensory, motor, or both. So sometimes a nerve can both receive sensory information and send out some motor stuff as well. So that's what the second mnemonic is for. So if you follow these over exactly, they say whether that nerve is sensory, motor, or both, and here's even the nice little mnemonic and the numbers that they're associated with. So some say marry money, but my brother says big boobs matter most. Okay, so some, that S is sensory, M is motor, B is both. Okay, so just follow that along and put that on your list or however you need to do, but that's all you need to know. You don't need to know what those motor functions are or what those sensory functions are, just know if they do sensory, motor, or both. Okay? Okay, so you'll see that up here I have drawn the cranial nerves, but I can also show you on a model. So I guess I'll show you on a model first, and then maybe we can go over there. But first off, we have that olfactory nerve, right? And I showed you guys that olfactory thing before. Just as a structure, it's called the olfactory bulb, but it's considered to be a cranial nerve. So there you go. There's your olfactory bulbs coming underneath the frontal lobe, just like I showed you guys before, right? And you guys remember that nerve number 2, the optic, right there, right? Coming off the optic chiasma. And that's at this point when I can bring out this model, because this model honestly is larger and it shows it a little better. It does not have the olfactory because it doesn't have that frontal lobe. It's just the thalamus and stuff underneath. But here's an optic nerve and here's an optic nerve. Okay? So moving on down. The one thing that will help you is if you recognize the pattern here. So the way that it goes is the nerves will start medially, then they'll go out laterally, and so it starts kind of at the top of the pons here, because here's the pons, right? Starts at the top of the pons, goes laterally out to the side, then it starts medially underneath the pons and goes laterally again, and then the last one is here more medially in the medulla area. Okay, so if you follow that pattern, you won't get lost. All right, so cranial nerve number 3, that's going to be the oculomotor, right? And it's right here underneath the mammillary bodies. So there's our number 2, here's number 3, the oculomotor, okay? Number 4 is going to be the trochlear nerve, and again, we're going from medial to lateral. So the trochlear comes out around, kind of underneath the peduncle here, or on top of the pons, however you want to think about that. But it actually starts all the way back here. I don't know how well you can see that. And it wraps around the front. Number 5 is going to be the trigeminal nerve. If you see the trigeminal nerve in whole, it looks like a big 3-fingered thing. Okay, so it has these 3 branches. That's why it's called trigeminal. So there you go. It's a huge, huge nerve. Okay, so now once we get to nerve number 5, the trigeminal, we go back to the center. So we move down to the bottom of the pons and we start in the middle, right? Medial. So that's going to put us at number 6. This is going to be our abducens nerve. Okay, abducens, right there. Going out laterally, we have next guy, that's number 7. That's going to be our facial nerve. Okay, facial. Moving on next, going laterally once again, we have our vestibulocochlear nerve. So we have A, fabulous Viking, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear nerve. Moving on down to number 9. So we're now just going down the sides, right? So we go from medial, lateral, and we're going down the sides of the medulla. So again, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear. So this one here is going to be our glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal, that's number 9, okay? I don't know how well you can see it. There we go, glossopharyngeal. Just underneath that is a larger nerve. This is going to be nerve number 10. This is the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve innervates the entire gut. So it's pretty big, and it's down here on that side. Okay, number 11 is going to be the accessory nerve. Sorry, I'm going to go in order. Accessory nerve. And the accessory nerve is just shown here as like this flat piece sticking out, but this is your accessory nerve, okay? And then lastly, going back to the middle again, down in here, is going to be your hypoglossal nerve. Hypoglossal, okay? So we just went through all the cranial nerves on this model. And again, with the picture on the board, I followed the same exact pattern, and I have it alternating in green and orange. Probably can't see it super well from there, but you can do this yourself too, right? Just sit there and draw out your cranial nerves and number them appropriately. You don't have to be a great artist to draw these guys and to understand what's going on. You just have to take the time to think about where these things are related spatially to each other, and that's really what's going to help you be able to identify these on a practical. Because yes, I will throw out that model, and I will say which nerve is this, and is it sensory motor or both, okay? So just to show you what's going on here, here's one hemisphere, here's the next hemisphere, here's our olfactory bulb sticking out on the bottom of our frontal lobe. Here's the swelling of the pons, here's the medulla, looks way larger than it should, and here you can see the striped cerebral peduncles, and you can see the optic chiasm, the mammillary bodies, and then the stalk for the pituitary gland. Okay, so just to show you kind of what's going on here. But again, follows that same pattern. Number 1, we have our olfactory bulb. Number 2, we have our optic nerve coming from that optic chiasma, or going into the optic chiasma. Number 3, starting medially on top of that pons, we have our oculomotor nerve. Moving out laterally, number 4, our trochlear. Still moving down laterally, number 5, our trigeminal, and you can see the numbers next to them. Going back to the center, underneath the pons, we have number 6, that's going to be our abducens. Moving out laterally, we have number 7, that's going to be our facial. Then moving out laterally once again, we have number 8, that's going to be our vestibulocochlear. Moving down the medulla, we have number 9, that's going to be our glossopharyngeal. Number 10, we have our vagus. And then number 11, our accessory. And then number 12, we have our hypoglossal. So again, just knowing where, if they're medial, if they're going lateral, if they're on top or on the bottom of the pons. And again, if they start at the top of something, they work around, and then they work around again, and then they go back to the center. And then, of course, just lining that up with the mnemonic as well. Okay, so there are the cranial nerves. Hope you liked that video.